kids who dream. Everything starts with being a 7-year-old child with a blank sheet of paper just sketching your ideas. So it's more about the free-flowing conversation, teasing out the fact that at some point we set up at night dreaming of this moment, and let's appreciate it. And so I'll always start by reminding myself and others that we're very fortunate to be in the situation we're in, and let's have fun, because there's some kid out there who'll see this work and then want to be like us. So I try to start there.
First, I'm Chinese designer and graduated from London Royal College of Arts. But back to 9 years ago, I always want to create something related to my roots. So I inspired a lot from Chinese cultural, traditional craftsmanship, a lot of things. I grew up in south of China, Fujian. So I love it. It's just my DNA, part of my DNA. So I just think about, why not?
New flex is find the shoe on Nike.com on sale, buy it, and have everyone snap their necks and be like, yo, what are those? They were on sale, 30% off at Nike.com. You can get one yourself.
How's everybody feeling?
Woo.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's so special to be here to do this in Hong Kong. I'm sure y'all have been to ComplexCon before, and to see it come around the world is such a special feeling.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want to introduce the people we're here with. My name is Brendan Dunne. I run the sneaker content at Complex. I'm based in our headquarters in New York. Like I said, thrilled to be here. Also here today we have Feng Chen Wang. She's a woman known for taking things apart, from garments to shoes to stereotypes. She has work with Nike, Air Jordan, and here this weekend with Converse at her booth. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
We have with us here Jason Mayden. He's a man who's quietly shaped the sneaker industry behind the scenes for decades now. I say quietly because in a recent conversation, he insisted that his work was, he said, never about clout or fame, just about kindness and trying to empower people. Jason is Jordan Brand's Chief Design Officer. Jason, thank you. And also we have with us Jeff Staple, a man who catalyzed sneaker collecting in the 2000s with an incredible Nike project and many powerful sequels after that. He is the man who made pigeons fly. Jeff, thank you for being here. So we're here to talk about collaborations. I want to know just first, when was the first time you saw a sneaker collaboration, or that idea was in your head that a sneaker brand could work with an outside partner?
Should the oldest one start? The first time, man, I remember when, my experience with Nike, because Nike was the first sneaker brand that contacted me, it wasn't in the context of let's do a collaboration. It was let's work together, design a shoe, tell a story. We'll use you to help tell that story, and then we'll release it together. But it wasn't
with your name on it, or
no,
uncredited?
Just my name on a check.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But it was just, I guess work for hire, you know, but maybe we did 6 shoes together that were not a collaboration that I designed. So for those who know, it was the Nordic pack, the navigation pack, the Laser Cortez, the Laser Rift. Were the first ones, and it wasn't a collaboration. And I think it was later on that, if I'm not mistaken, Japanese streetwear brands started to put 2 brands together. And before the name collaboration, they actually called it double label. They would say double label. And that was the first time that you would sort of stack 2 brands together. So that was, to me, the earliest iteration of the beginnings of collabs.
Yeah. Feng, for you, do you remember the first sneaker collaboration that caught your eye?
Wow, yeah, that was a long time ago with Converse.
Yeah.
Converse. Yeah, back to, I do remember my fashion show in New York Fashion Week. And actually the one I wear, the similar 2-in-1 sole, it was my first sneaker collaboration with Converse.
How did the conversation with Converse begin? How did Converse first start talking to you?
It's no story. And I think creativity is quite important. So I was still just graduated from the school quite young. I start like remake myself, like everything like handmade. But we do like chatting a lot about like future collaboration at that time. But it take a long time to wait for the final, product come out. As you know, like sneaker always like at least 2 years. Yeah.
Did you have any doubt? Were you ever worried that it wasn't going to happen, or you believed that it would happen?
It will happen.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah. Jason, for you, what was the first big sneaker collaboration you can remember?
I think the first one for me would probably be the Air Jordan 2 with Eminem that I worked on.
Okay.
I went to undergrad in Detroit.
Yeah.
And Eminem was releasing a book at the time, and he was a friend of the brand. So being one of the youngest people in Jordan Brand, being deeply steeped in hip hop culture, video game culture, when they asked me if I would do this product for M, it was like a dream come true. Because I was able to honor someone that was very proximate to my upbringing and the stories that I was a part of in college. But for the brand, it was the first time that a musician had a footwear product where we gave the same level of intention to that product like we would a signature athlete. So launch events, graphics, the full story. So it was quite compelling to see the beginning shift of understanding that culture exists beyond the court or the field, that it's also in the classroom or in the music booth or in the studio in terms of artists. So for me, it was a game changer because I got to see the expansiveness of creativity.
And the Jordan Brand story with collaborations is interesting too, because I feel like Nike started that earlier and Jordan Brand came to collaborations a few years later.
Yeah, I think for us, it's always been about Michael. He's the pinnacle in terms of excellence and competitiveness, and so we obsessed over serving the athlete. And then as time went on, we realized that there are people that contribute to the athletic endeavor, the musicians, the artists. So the aperture opened on opportunities to tell stories.
And what about Eminem? How was it working with Eminem?
It was amazing. Like the man is well read, extremely intelligent, and remembers everyone.
Did you have to like battle rap him in order to convince him that you were worthy of designing a shoe with him?
Not at all. He saw the first sketch and that was enough. I proved my point.
Those are your bars.
That was my bars, was the strokes of the pen on the paper. That was it. I would not compete. Yeah.
Feng, you mentioned this long process for a collaboration taking 2 years. What's the hardest part of that, of convincing the brand in that span of time that you're ready to do a shoe? What's the hardest part?
Well, I guess always like beginning part, always, because the idea and creativity things, because it's about collaboration and two brand, two DNA, and how you go into really balance between two. You couldn't really just putting, for me, like it's hard just putting my name on that. So I always think about like a design. I think design part, yeah.
And did you have these ideas in your head before Converse approached you? Was it something you dreamed of when you were first starting to design to make a shoe?
Yes, since when I was a kid, always love sneaker. Even I'm a girl, but still have a sneaker always one of the things that you have.
Were you drawing sneakers in your notebooks and things like that? Yeah. Jeff, that was you too, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell us that story of drawing sneakers in the margins.
I mean, I was drawing the swoosh logo from as long as I can remember, like terrible.
It looked like a sperm. Hard to draw.
It is.
Hard to draw.
Now I'm quite good at it. I could get the check going really good. Yeah, but yeah, it's always, to me, the hardest thing about doing it is actually trying to like predict the future. Because, I just said on Instagram recently that I'm working on like predicting 2025, but then actually I just worked with a collaborative partner that said like, oh, we have to push it out to 2026. And I'm like, shit, now I gotta think about what's gonna be hot in 26. And you can never know, right? But it's almost like trying to tell the weather forecast, like what's gonna be brewing then, and then will reality meet that when that thing comes out? Because sometimes you might miss completely, so that's probably the most challenging thing for me.
Is there a collaboration, sneaker or otherwise, that stands out as the most difficult in terms of getting it across the finish line for you, Jeff?
Wow. Well, there's a Jordan story.
Tell the Jordan story. We're talking Jordans.
I mean, after the Pigeon Dunk came out, Jordan Brand reached out to do a project together. And this probably goes down as like maybe one of the biggest I should have in my career, where they said, we want to do a project with you. And at the time they were releasing this shoe called I think it was called the New Retro Jordan 1, right? Which at the time was a new shoe. They'd recently retroed it. But at the time I was like, man, I don't want to do that shoe. I want to do like the one or the three, right? That's what really means to me. And so no, it's the new Jordan. And I was like, I decided I didn't want to do it, so I passed on it. And I think that like I didn't realize at that moment post Pigeon Dunk that it might have been more important for me to like, no pun intended, get my foot in the door with brand Jordan. And what I didn't realize was that Jordan and SB and Nike and sportswear and Converse are all like very separate companies. I just thought like, oh, they're all in Beaverton, so they're all fam. But they're not all fam. They actually like are separate companies. So for me to say no to Jordan and continue doing SB, maybe that felt like a slight to them. And so like maybe I should have gotten my foot in the door, done the new retro, which actually strangely enough grew on me. Like I really kind of like that shoe now. I was like, damn, I should have done that shoe. It would have been dope. But yeah, that's the hard part is like you never know what's gonna happen in the future, you know?
Feng, do you have that experience of working with Converse, working with Nike, working with Jordan? Did they tell you what shoe they want you to do? Do you get to pick? Can you talk about how that works, selecting the shoe for the collaboration?
Well, yeah, every time I kind of like travel to Boston, visit the Converse headquarters, and always one of my favorite part is visiting their archive.
The archive is amazing, yeah.
And I always remember like, you know, some key piece there like you never can find outside. But yeah, I think they love my work, design. So they always ask me, which one is your favorite? Which one you want to design?
So you get to pick which shoe you want to work on,
Yeah. So I quite appreciate about this process, you know. But I do understand sometimes like they will give you a pair or a model or a style. But for me, like, I got like freedom to design whatever I want to do.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Jason, can you tell us how, working on the brand side, how brands pick those silhouettes and how a Nike or a Jordan will decide that Jeff should do a certain shoe or that Feng should do a certain shoe? What are the business motivations behind that?
I would say it's different based on each partner. You know, everyone has their own creative sensibilities and everyone aligns well with certain initiatives. So it comes down to like Feng's example. I go to the archive, she sees something that really speaks to her, that tells a story that's unique, that she can really get behind. It matters because what we're trying to do is figure out authentic narratives, not just initiatives, but it's about authenticity for us. So each partner and their storytelling ability helps us to kind of curate in a way that they feel proud of the work, they feel connected to the work emotionally, and it feels authentic to the narrative they want to put in the market. So I would say we start there often.
Do you remember any of those conversations with outside partners where you told them this is the shoe and they said, no, I want to do this shoe instead?
In my personal experience, no. It's normally, personally, how I work is I come to the table and we just go back to being kids who dream. Everything starts with being a 7-year-old child with a blank sheet of paper just sketching your ideas. So it's more about the free-flowing conversation, teasing out the fact that at some point we sat up at night dreaming of this moment and let's appreciate it. And so I'll always start by reminding myself and others that we're very fortunate to be in the situation we're in, and let's have fun because there's some kid out there who'll see this work and then want to be like us. So I try to start there.
Jeff, are there shoes you've dreamed of doing that you haven't been able to do? Have you ever gone to a Nike or a Jordan and said, let me do this model? Is there a model that sticks out to you that you'd still want to conquer?
I mean, I would love to do the 3 because the 3 is what did it for me. That's what turned me from...
You know, you might be able to help you out.
Oh, yeah, maybe we'll have a talk at the end. But no, I don't know, for a lot of people, everyone has that shoe that like went from a thing that you wear to just do sports in to... oh, this is a designed thing. And the Air Jordan 3 to me was like, it was the first time I said, I want to know who created this. And it led me down the rabbit hole of like Tinker Hatfield and sneaker design and all of that stuff. And I just remember it was the first time that like I took a toothbrush to clean the bottom of my shoes. And my parents
nobody's going to see
my
the bottom
parents
of
are
the
like,
shoe,
why are you cleaning the bottom with your own toothbrush? So it definitely like some madness happened with the 3. So I would love to like do an interpretation on that.
Do you have it ready to go? Do you know what it would look like already, or have you not dared to dream that far?
No, I'm not there yet. Although the public has made many staple 3s already, so there's like already a mood board already, but like I haven't actually taken pen to pad on it yet.
Feng, for you, is there a dream shoe you would want to do? An Air Jordan shoe, a Nike shoe, a Converse shoe?
Air Jordan 1.
Air Jordan
You want to do the
1?
one?
Yes, I love classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have a version of the Jordan 1 that was...
I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
talk about that project.
Oh, that one is like, again, back to New York Fashion Week, almost like, 5-6 years ago. And then we do like that one is amazing. And I do remember that connection. It was made in China connection. The name, like, I have a slogan like made in China, redefined made in China in New York. So, the footwear as well. The color was red color one, red black one. Yeah.
How important was the Made in China label for you, or why is that important to your work to say that?
Well, I always inspire. First, I'm Chinese designer and graduated from London Royal College of Arts. But back to 9 years ago, I always want to create something like related to my roots. So I inspired a lot from like Chinese culture, traditional craftsmanship, a lot of things. I grew up in south of China, Fujian. So I love it. It's just my DNA, part of my DNA. So I just think about, why not? Made in China slogan.
I think one of the interesting things about sneaker collaborations is the people on the outside who buy them, they don't really know what goes into it, the contracts, the royalties, things like that. Jeff and Feng, for the two of you, like, what's the best way to get paid if you're doing a sneaker collaboration, or how does that thing work? Is it a royalty? Is it an upfront? Like, I'm not asking specific numbers, but just what is the structure like that, and how have you seen it changed in the 20 plus years that sneaker collaborations have been a thing?
I don't know. We have to check our NDA, but I will say it's usually
In the broadest terms possible,
in the broad
hypothetically.
terms, broad strokes. It's like you get either a design creation marketing fee, or a royalty on sales, or product like free shoes or free gear to sell. It's some combination of all of those three things. Sometimes people get all of one, all of another, a little bit of everything, and then it's usually either per shoe, per drop. Some people get like contracts where it's like, we're gonna sign you for 3 years or something like that. And really for the art, like the designer side, I think the biggest concern is exclusivity. That's, the longer and better the contract, the more exclusive it needs to be. And I always...
You mean for you as a collaborator?
Me, as a collaborator,
Yeah.
and as a human being. Like, I always am a little bit concerned because when I do sneaker deals, I'm still a sneakerhead at heart. And so if I can't just rock a pair of Stan Smiths or a pair of Puma Suedes or a pair of, Air Force Ones, I almost want to be like, man, but people love me because of my taste and my aesthetic in sneaker culture. If I just for the next 3 years wear one brand, it kind of robs you of that. I always think of it, it's like if you're a wine expert and you're known for your taste in wine, and a company says like, just drink our wine for 3 years, you're kind of like diminishing your wine expertise, right? So I've never signed an exclusivity like 360 deal, because I want to always just wear whatever I want to wear,
Have you been close, or has that been on the table and you decided I'm not going to do that because it would lock me into something?
Definitely. Yeah.
Feng, for you, how big are collaborations in your business now? Is it a significant part of the business, or it's more an energy thing? Like how much revenue does it, contribute?
Well, collaboration is always important for us because it means a lot. And I think it's one of our, it's a part of us, about our main line, like Feng Chen Wang, menswear, fashion, still important, like biggest one for us. But yes, even saying like a sneaker is super cool. But agree with you, like exclusivity is quite hard. And sometimes but for example, I signed with Converse for really a long time. Yes, but also appreciate for that. Personally, sometimes it's quite different because I also working with some competitor with Converse, but I still work with other like Nike or UGG, Crocs, a lot of other footwear brands. So it's still cool. I think sometimes it really depends. It depends how your conversation with the brand, with a different brand, and I even say the contract could be different. Yeah.
How do we know when we've got to the point of too many collaborations? Because in the work that I do, we're here. When did we get here? Because we reflect at Complex at the end of each year on the best sneakers of the year, and we make a long list of what we think are the top 10 sneakers of the year, and people get upset and they want to attack us for it. But sometimes we look at these lists and there are so many collaborations. Do we need less collaborations in the industry right now? Is it too much of a cheat code? How do we feel just as a whole?
I think for me, it's about stories. You know, if you bifurcate collaboration from the idea of narratives that transcend culture, transcend socioeconomic boundaries, countries, languages, you never can have enough of those stories that we can tell. So it just depends on what's valued at the moment in the market. Before it was collaborations, there were, you know, player endorsed products that we call signature shoes, right? Before that, there were team endorsement deals where you were on a team and you wore a certain product and you had to have certain colors. So as stories start to evolve and we have better technology to continue to push narrative forward, I think we're going to see an evolution of what collaborations look like in general.
Feng, do you think there are too many sneaker collaborations in 2024?
2024, I think every year we have a lot, right? I mean, the world has a lot. And sometimes you couldn't really remember like what they did, but you might. It's quite hard, but maybe we don't have to do that many. I mean, the whole market, right? But some meaningful one is important.
Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're at a saturation point where like we have to go less now so that people appreciate them more. I think there should be like a collaboration committee where like, you know, if you want to drive a car, you have to take a driver's license test. I almost feel like in order to do collaboration, you have to have like 3 in real life dinners with the person that you're collaborating with. Because so many collaborations, the people don't even know each other or meet each other. It's just like, you send the logo, I send the logo, let's put it like this, approve it on WhatsApp, and then like make it. And I feel like you feel that in the collaboration. It feels like a toss away.
You can tell.
You can tell. Whereas collaborations that are done with 2 friends over a dinner and you bounce ideas and it takes a year and a half, you can tell those too, you know? So I think like there should be a committee where like, okay, I see the 3.
Is this a public committee? Yeah, like is the public?
No, it's like the DMV. The DMV should do it.
More time at the DMV. That's what.
More time at the DMV.
I think one of the interesting things too about where collaborations are now is just that not only are there more of them in the sense that each brand has more people who they work with, but the actual units produced are more. To me, we can remember when a collab would come out and it would be a 3-digit thing or a 4-digit thing, but now it's a 5-digit thing. And it's just like, how do you keep these things special if there are 60,000 pairs out there in the market, or if you did 4 colorways? Like how do you show restraint?
Me? Yeah, I mean, even double digits. There used to be double digit collaborations, you know? So, yeah, right now it's like, it's a lot. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about the resale market and how flat it is. And I think where we're at right now is a place where I kind of equated a lot to like, if you're at a nightclub and there's like a VIP room, everybody wants to get into the VIP room, right? That's like where you want to get into. But now, because collaborations are coming out every week and there's tens of thousands, sometimes even millions of pairs of collaborations, like it's like everyone is in the VIP room, and now the general area is actually really cool, you know? So it's funny because like I just spent a whole week with like Hiroshi, who's the next speaker, and we were saying like we only wear inline shoes now. We only wear inline.
That's the new flex.
The new flex is find the shoe on Nike.com on sale, buy it, and have everyone snap their necks and be like, yo, what are those? They were on sale, 30% off at Nike.com. You can get one yourself. That's the new flex.
There's a guy, Ben Solomon, from he's a graffiti writer in New York, and he has this quote I love where it's just an offhanded thing, but it stuck with me, where he said, like, if you can't go into your local Foot Locker or JD Sports and get fly, then you're not doing it right. Like
Exactly.
We love the collaborations, we love the limited edition shoes, but if you can't just take a GR and make it look good, then you probably don't really know what you're doing.
Something is swinging where GR, general release, is feeling more cool than limited edition. Yeah.
Feng, do you feel the same way at all, or do you like to wear your collab at every chance you get?
I'm wearing. just wear them. Yeah, but I do agree with you. Sometimes like you prefer some like classic one, right? Like it's quite interesting when like it really depends on your lifestyle. But as well, like you never just have one lifestyle. Sometimes you go like holiday. And right, different, every day different too. And sometimes you go party maybe. I mean like, it depends on moods. Like whatever, sometimes I just don't want to wear any sneaker.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that happen as well. So I mean like, do whatever you want. Yeah.
And I think with what I just said, I think the rise of New Balance is probably benefiting from the fact that like your dad's gray New Balance shoe is all of a sudden hot, and that there's like a spiraling effect to that too. I think it's because of that same feeling of like the dad shoe thing, you know?
Jason, I always love to hear your perspective because you spent so much time inside the brand and you know the work that goes into these things. Is there a sneaker collaboration that sticks out to you where you know it was a monumental effort to get it done? Something that you saw, whether you worked on it or not, but you were impressed by just the scale and the scope of it, or how hard it was to get this partner with that partner?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. As a fan, I would say probably the ones I'm currently wearing with Angelo, simply because of the depth of storytelling that he put into it, with the amount of appearances of people that were authentic to New York, shooting in locations that are authentic to his narrative. So, like for me, I wear what I love, and when I look at collaborations or partnerships, I always think about, is this a story that I can tell my kids that they would then want to tell their kids? Because it is an extension of somebody's existence. These are artifacts that will be studied for periods of time, and those stories that are attached to them really do encapsulate the essence of the creator. So I think at the moment, my most favorite one is Angelo's. That's why I chose to bring it with me, just because of the depth. Like when I first saw the campaign, I had just returned back to the brand, and I was like, this is beautiful. Because it's telling a story of New York and the brand's origin, which MJ was born in Brooklyn. Clark Kent's in the campaign, good friend. Places that I've seen, Mello's in the campaign, so celebrating alumni of the brand. I thought it was done very intentionally well. And to their point, like, it's the intention behind a product that makes it valuable. So general releases, if they're done with some type of beautiful craft and you can see the obsession over details, I pull them out the closet. If it's a collaboration, the story and the layers, the more you look at it, the more you discover things, and it's impressive. So I think this one for me, probably of recent times, is one that is very, very, very compelling.
Feng, for you, is there a collaboration you can think of that you know a lot of work went into it and you know it was difficult to make happen and you respect it more because of that, whether you did it or somebody else did it?
Well, I mean, sometimes like a detail, I'm also a detail-focused person. Yeah, like material, colors. But I also like, sometimes I want to do something very different, like nobody do it. This is always what I want to do. Yeah, but even say like, I'm just give an example, like the shoes called 2-in-1, like the one I work with the Converse. But actually, my new collection was showing in Paris Fashion Week, and I inspired by like Chinese culture, but I mean tea culture and teapot as well. So the whole idea, like, I make another like teapot sole, and this is another like adding on like another layer in like a 2-in-1, so it can be separated like wear. So I mean, it's quite interesting. Like as a designer, always want to think about something different. But it's quite cool things like your partner say like you're collaborating with any other brand, like they really allow you to do something, and they also support you. Like sometimes they come out an idea like, oh, that kind of technique is quite difficult to achieve, right? Or even say you want to open a new sole. Oh, that's expensive. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, to try to really do your own sole is the most great one. Yeah.
Jeff, for you, is there a sneaker collaboration that feels the most monumental, the most challenging?
I mean, I'd have to give all respect to V and like the 10. I mean, that shit just was so mind-blowing at the time. If you imagine yourself when the 10 came out and the story that was told around that, and then to follow that up with the Louis Vuitton Nike as well, like to bring together the house of LVMH and the house of Nike together on a shoe, it was something that only V could do. And then for him to pass, he was like a shooting star that was just like firing at the speed of light. and we saw it. It was like Haley's Comet. Like we just saw this amazing thing, and it just disappeared. And it was just like, how is that gone now? You know, who else can do that? You know what I mean? It's like I'm getting chills saying that, but like he just broke the mold, and then literally mic dropped from planet Earth. Like I'm good. I got to do this on Mars now or something. You know, like it's amazing.
Yeah. The ones I think of, I just love knowing what's happening behind the scenes at brands, sometimes to a fault, but just like knowing the connections that lead to certain projects, like knowing Mark Parker, former Nike CEO, his appreciation for art and how that led to people like Stash coming into the brand, or Tom Sachs, Nike exists partly because of Mark Parker, or you know, just like Jordan Brand and their certain affinities for people, and the way those connections are made is always so interesting to me. You know, Virgil telling stories about meeting Fraser Cook and Fraser Cook being the link to him. That's what I love, you know? Yeah. Who are some of those people who work behind the scenes that each of you have worked with? Because I think that's important. It's something I try to do in my work, is highlight the people whose names we don't always hear, who make these collaborations happen. Feng, is there somebody for you at Converse or Nike who really helped your projects exist and release? Are there people you can mention who you worked with?
Wow. Converse and it's cool things like when we work together, it was always a staff on the headquarters, but not only, because we also have deeper relationship with APAC team as well, like China, Seoul as well, London, Paris, New York. So sometimes I think this is something like you really can feel when you're doing a collaboration. It's actually not just product, not just a sneaker. It's actually like people. Yeah. Like you work with these people. It's important. I think more important than product. That's another side, another view. Yeah.
Jeff, who are the people? Who are the connectors that made it happen?
One of the earliest. Oh, this is the earliest person that I ever met at Nike. His name is Marcus Tayui. He's not at Nike anymore, but I was at the time the art director for a magazine called The Fader magazine, and I pitched to the Fader that I wanted to do a story about Nike Japan, because back in 1999, 1999, people were buying sneakers in Japan and hand carrying them back to America, and buying shoes in America and hand carrying them back to Japan, and they were selling them for maybe like $20 more than the sticker price. This is the beginning of resale culture, right? And so I wanted to find out why Nike was allowing this to happen. Why weren't they just making shoes everywhere, you know? So I flew to Japan, I met with Nike Japan, and I found, like, I had to go through like all these, I was like a private investigator. Like I would talk to sneaker stores, buyers, managers, VPs, GM. Finally got to Nike Japan, and I met the one guy, Marcus, who decides which shoe is gonna go in which store, how many pairs they're making. And we're talking about like 24 pairs of Nike Air Kukini at Atmos. Like air woven.
Barely exists.
36 pairs of air woven, right? And so this guy was in charge of co.jp, which was like COJP. And it's just one guy sitting in the room, and then he goes like, oh, this was a really great interview. But I use a consultant sometimes. I use a friend who like tells me like, yeah, the Kukini's cool, or like the air woven's cool. He was like, you should meet him too. His name is Hiroshi Fujiwara. You should meet him. And so I met him, and then here's Fragment coming in, you know. And those two back in 1999 were already turning the pot on this whole, this is pre-Tier Zero, pre-Quick Strike. This is just guys doing something for the culture because they really believed in it, and they didn't care about like, they were breaking a lot of rules at the brand, like, you know, just trying to get like a sample run made and trying to like sell to a store that didn't even have a Nike account. Like, just take them, just consignment, whatever, just tell us how they do.
You're not allowed to do that.
No, you can't do that, you know, but they were just out there doing it. It was so rebel, it was pretty punk.
Yeah. Jason, who are the people who you turn to either in your time at the brand now or before, who you know can make those connections?
I would say beyond connections, the people who rarely get celebrated are the administrative staff. I think we have to talk about the people who coordinate the meetings between multiple parties. because the scheduling
Not
is
an
always
easy job.
Not an easy job, and no one ever talks about the role of an EA or admin. And
It's not a sexy job either.
No, but it is very critical because if any communication is missed, the partners aren't satisfied, the brand doesn't get to deliver what we want to deliver. So I always shout out the EA and support staff. I think the development staff, the people who are on the ground making sure that the samples are constantly being turned, like those people are critical and they're often overlooked in the publicly facing celebration of a collab. But if there's one person that I would want to shout out, and she's a former Nike alum, but is Darla Vaughn. Darla was the first person I met that was insanely tapped in with culture, but was just completely humble. Like you didn't know who Darla was, but you felt her presence any room that you were in with her. And so to see how she's evolved and moved throughout culture and kept her hand in so many different unique conversations in so many different industries, she was my first kind of mentor when I was an intern coming into the brand. So I would say Darla Vaughn by far is probably one of the people that I've been most impressed with, that I consider essentially someone that I look up to.
Excellent. We're running out of time here, but we do have about 15 minutes left, and I want to do an audience Q&A. I don't know if we have someone who can run a mic out to the audience or how we want to run this, but we do have some time for question and answers from the audience. So if somebody wants to raise their hand, maybe, and we can work through it from there. If anybody has any burning questions for our panelists up here, or maybe not. Do we see any?
Yeah.
Oh, this gentleman over here, or this young lady behind. And tell us your name, please, if you would.
My name is Nana. Hey. My question is, Jason, for you. What do you think will be the impact of AI in the market that you are in?
Impact of AI in the market. That's a great question. So, Jason speaking, personally, I've been working with machine learning and artificial intelligence for over a decade. When it was predictive analytics and we were looking at large amounts of information and trying to figure out what happens next, that was helpful. As you get into generative technology, what you're doing is democratizing how kids can get started. And a lot of the barrier to entry for creative youth is they can't get access to certain tools, they may not be able to go to certain schools, they may not be able to have the ability to produce certain things at scale. But with this technology, what we're doing is leveling the playing field. So we're gonna see an increase in creativity from people who normally wouldn't have the ability to do that. You're gonna see kids from parts of the world that simply because they were born in certain countries, you never knew they would have existed. Now we can see their work and we can see it at the highest level. So that's what's exciting to me, because anytime I go to the internet, I can be inspired by somebody that I normally would never get a chance to meet, and they can express themselves. And that matters a lot in this generation, that people have the ability to visually communicate, because it lowers the barrier to entry and it completely eradicates anything that will make us feel like we're not connected. So I'm excited because it is a new tool. It won't replace empathy, it won't replace curiosity, but it will augment it in a way that allows people to show what they can do at the highest level.
Are we letting AI design sneakers for us?
I don't know. That's on you guys. You guys tell me.
Do y'all use AI in your work at all?
AI one.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Not interested. Jeff?
I'm developing, I know this is gonna sound wild, but I'm developing a Jeff GPT.
Wait, this is you sitting here, right? This is the human
No.
Jeff Staple sitting here, or is this an AI?
This is the AI now. But there is, it's almost gonna be public, where like anybody could just basically ask Jeff GPT a question, and not even a question about myself. You could be like, here's my fit for the day, Jeff Staple, what do you think? And it'll give my actual opinion, and I've been testing it, and it is so on point, scary, like correct all the time. Like every time I test it, I'm like, damn, that's exactly what I would have said. Like I feel so seen. It's scary, and it's still only like 80% done. But when it's like 100% done, I think it'll be like I can retire at that point, because then I could just like give it to Jeff GPT to do.
Perfect. Who else has a question for us? Maybe this gentleman up front.
Hey guys, my name's Scott. Jeff, you mentioned earlier about predicting trends is a little bit like trying to predict the weather. I think some big brands feel like they can make the weather by making those trends. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what's
They can.
Yeah. How do they go about that?
Big brands can alter the weather for sure. Especially in sneaker culture, like Nike can do it almost at will. Like if they decide blazers are going to be a thing, like they can make that happen by sheer will. I think other brands that are smaller, for example, maybe a recent one might be like Solomon or On Running, right? Like these are brands that have a really intrinsic DNA about who they are, and by just persistence, they have made their thing, which at one point might have been like sort of looked down on or like an outlier, become like a force. Actually, probably the biggest success story that I can remember of the last 5 years is Crocs, because I remember as a sneakerhead, you wouldn't be seen dead in a pair of Crocs in public. Then a global pandemic happened, and all of a sudden you're just walking your dog constantly, and all you do is go to the supermarket, and now Crocs are like have finally left the home, and that trickle down effect made it so that Crocs were all of a sudden pretty fly. Like there's a massive Croc pair over there, right? So I think brands do have the ability to alter and change the weather, but I also think that the people also do. Like they're actually more powerful at being able to like call shots and basically say like, no, we're not gonna do what you want, brand. We're going this way anyway, regardless. So the weather that I mentioned is actually affected by the people more so than anything else.
Gentleman back here in the bucket hat.
Hey, this question is for Jason. You being with a brand like Air Jordan, and I know you're talking about, everything's about a story, but like being in the skate industry, I'm reflecting on how is it working with someone outside the basketball culture? Because I seen you guys did like a collaboration with like little dirt bike kid, and like what does it take for you guys to push outside of just the basketball culture?
That's a great question. So I grew up as a BMX kid, and before there was a sneaker culture, it was just collector culture. You use a nuanced kind of subculture of other things growing up in Chicago. So the things that translate from basketball into other sports or other disciplines is the love for the game. That's the universal language of what Jordan stands for. Mike will play pickup basketball because he loved the game. Somebody pops a wheelie on a dirt bike, they love the game. Somebody's on a skateboard getting active, jumping down the flight of stairs, they love the game. So the beauty of being in Jordan Brand is that your passion and dedication to your craft transcends sport, and we can find those people in any industry. And that's why people say that I'm the Michael Jordan of insert job, insert vocation, insert discipline, because it really is about an obsession to your craft and his passion to push the boundaries of human potential. So working with those people, it gives me a tremendous amount of joy because it reminds me that creativity is unlimited, human potential is unlimited, and a person can just decide to be great and figure out a way to push themselves beyond the boundaries of where they grew up, what they look like, what they have. That's the exciting part, because it starts with a jump shot, but I tell everyone, creativity was my jump shot. It's what helped me navigate from the south side of Chicago to the South Bay of San Francisco, going to Stanford, or jumping back into the berm at Nike after this time period that I was away. So I think that now with design being a language of youth, we're gonna see a lot more variations of what it means to be in love with your craft and have that obsessive passion to do your best work.
Beautiful. I think we have time for one more question. Young lady right here with their hand up in the middle, maybe?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you all for the great conversation. I would like to add one more question regarding to the gaming industry and the fashion industry. Because me personally, I am a space designer and a creative director. And nowadays I receive more and more requests saying that a large amount of gaming companies would love to collaborate with fashion brands. For example, Nike. And people would love to create a funky avatar or do fashion show in metaverse. So would like to hear some insight from of you, like what's your feeling for fashion brand going to the digital world?
I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that even at Nike, something like Nike Virtual Studios, which started out as being more about NFTs and digital collectibles, makes a lot more sense now as a platform where you can launch wearable sneakers in your favorite video games, so you can play, I don't know, Street Fighter and have a pair of Dunks on. Like, that's such a cool possible future to me, and I know that there are projects like that coming up with big sneaker brands working with iconic gaming properties, and I'm into that. I'm into that crossover.
Yeah, I'm super inspired by the digital world. To me, it actually started with social media, where like I noticed that when I had a store, people were trying on shoes in my store, and then they would just take pictures, but they wouldn't have to buy the shoes. They would get clout and like recognition and props just because it existed like on this little photo on Instagram, you know? And my staff was really mad to be like, no, you can't take pictures and post. I'm like, no, let them, because it's a new currency that we have to accept. It's our fault that we're like behind on it. And then it actually advanced where, I don't know if you know what the Overwatch League is, but it's like one of the biggest global gaming things. And they asked me to design all the teams' uniforms from around the world. So it was the first time that somebody designed gamer-specific uniforms for what they needed. Gamers are really interesting because they sit in a chair for like 8 hours, but they're in a very cold room because all the machines have to be cool. So it's like really hot in some places and really cold in others. So I designed like a uniform for them. And then of course we collaborated with Artifact, RTFKT, which was like the first sort of digital shoe that went from an NFT on the blockchain to a physical shoe that could be minted, and that was really historic as well. And then Artifact is now actually part of the Nike Inc. division, you know? So I've always been observant of what's going on in the digital space, because frankly, I don't want to be like the old guy left in the room and like, you know, hating on it. So I'm trying to just embrace it as quickly as possible, but it's moving so fast.
Feng, what about you? Can we expect a future where we can wear your clothes in our favorite video games?
Well, I'm working on one project already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's a future, and then sometimes it's also about imagination, because you know, like as a physical fashion or sneaker, like something that you never can make in a real world, but you can really imagine anything crazy ideas working with this virtual design, like. But I think the other thing is like engagement with your community. Like you couldn't really design something like people hard to understand. So it's another way to think about. Even say virtual is a virtual world, but it's still connected with a real world. Yeah, somehow, right? Yeah.
Well, I think that's all our time. I want to thank everybody for showing up and listening. Thank you for attending. Thank you to our panelists here, not only for your conversation, but also for your contributions to this game we love. So appreciate it. Real pleasure. Thanks, y'all.